Right now, I'm on my GitHub profile and I would like to create a new repository. So I can go here on the top, I can click on Create New, and I can click on New Repository. So let's go, we're gonna save this project, Nuxt app, from actually our local machine to this repository online. So I'm going to type Nuxt app and I'm going to call it GitHub, for instance. I can add a description, a repository for my GitHub course, and I can put it to public, and I can click down here on create repository. So here it's going to create the repository, and suddenly I arrive on this page and we can see here on the top that I'm on my repository. And this repository is actually empty and I got a lot of options. And here we can see that I can, if I want, set up here with the command git the project. So what are we going to do in here? A repository, it's basically the place where we are going to keep track of the project. So it's going to basically take here the branch master that is locally on your computer and put it in here. And later, when we're going to see the branches, when we're going to switch branches, create branches, we are going to basically push the branches, and here we will be able to retrieve the branches. So if I delete the project locally, I will still be able to fetch the project from GitHub. But you got to understand that there's a difference between the track record of your commits on GitHub and your local branch. Basically, if Tyler is going to change something into my Nuxt app and he pushes his changes to his branch, what I need to do, me locally, is to pull the changes. I'm going to show you later how to pull the changes from your repository. But at first, what we need to do is to basically init the project. So if I'm telling you this, it's because I would like you to understand that there's a difference between what we call here the local changes and basically the origin, the remote origin. The remote origin, this is what is on GitHub. The local changes are here. So every time what you got to do, really often to be honest, is to fetch the changes of the project, because probably Tyler would have made changes that you would like to have on your project. Okay, so we already typed git init. So what we're gonna do here is to push the changes from this repository to here. So what I need to do is to type git, and remember we installed git before, add, and I'm going to put a point, and I'm going to type enter. What I just did here is that I initiated what we call a commit. And we can see here that something changed. I got an A here. So here I'm preparing through a commit here on my history, on my local branch master. I'm preparing to push all of this somewhere. And what we need to do every time we push a changes is to give actually a name to the change, because we would like to be able to get back. And of course, we need a name to understand where we were. So I'm going to type git commit. And here I got to put a -m and I need to put a message. Let's say that it's going to be first commit. And later we're going to see that this message is really important, because this is going to be what you write, and this is going to be what other developers are going to read. So here it's supposed to be very clear, actually. It's supposed to use conventions. So I'm going to type enter. And what we see suddenly is that we've got all those lines that appear. We've got actually create mode with git init, git ignore, readme, app.view, etc., etc. And if we read clearly, all of this is representing the project. So we are ready to push actually here from master root commit, and we've got here an ID to identify the commit. We are going to push 9 files that have been changed, and in lines it's basically 5,000 lines. Okay, then here we can see that we've got a git branch main. So basically, by the past, we used to call the main branch the master. Now we call it main. So here we rename the branch to main. This is a convention. So I'm typing git branch dash m, which is capital, and main. And I'm going to type enter. And suddenly we can see here that I'm on main. Master didn't disappear, but main is now the main branch. So we are going to start from main. Then there is a huge here line called git remote add origin. And I gotta stop for some seconds on that to explain to you what we are going to do here. What we do here is we set up the target where we are going to send our project. So previously we saved all the files and we said that in this commit there will be all these files, and now we are linking the local project main to this address, and you understood that this address .git here is the repository here. So we are creating what we call a remote origin here, and this remote origin will be linked to the project. If we would like later to remove this origin, this will be possible. But here we say, hey, this project, every time we are going to use git and every time we are going to push, it's going to go here into this repository, right? So this is my repository. So I will not need to create pull requests. I will be able to push directly. Others are unable to push to my repository. For instance, if I try to do that on the repository of somebody else, it will not work. I will not be able to commit directly. I will be obliged to create a pull request. So I got git remote add origin, and here I'm linking this local git branch to the branch that will be here. So I'm going to type enter, and suddenly this is done. Finally, and this is probably the most important, we are going to push everything to this place. And I gotta be clear on that. When you are going to use git push, whatever you are going to use git push, you gotta be safe, because when you're gonna push changes, it's going to overwrite the work of your colleagues or your previous work. You gotta be very safe by using push, git push all the time. You gotta be sure about what you do. Okay, so git push -u, and here I'm putting the origin and I'm calling the branch main. And suddenly, look at this, when I'm going to push everything, what's gonna happen is that we are going to, and it's done actually, it uploaded all the project here. It uploaded all the project on the target. And we can see here, new branch, main, pushed on main. So this main here is this main here, and this main here is actually, and if I update my page, this main here, the project. As you can see here, 4 minutes ago, when I was explaining to you what were commits, and when I saved the commits, 4 minutes ago, I saved this commit, and I just pushed it on the project on a branch called main. And the branch is basically here. So congratulations, you've just created your first GitHub repository, which is linked to your local project on your computer.